All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm actually going to record a few videos for you guys today. I'm going to start with, I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to start with summer safety. Summertime, our kids have a lot more free time. There are some specific situations that come up in the summer, including swimming and camping, potentially fireworks here in July. And I just wanted to go over some of that stuff with you guys, not to mention, and this video is actually going to double as my heat preparation video, which you guys will see on the June calendar. And the heat prep was supposed to be in my head when I was coming up with two separate topics. It was supposed to talk specifically about, if like your air conditioning isn't working, how do you get help and that kind of thing. But I think there's more intentional and specific things we need to talk about, such as like heat exhaustion and heat stress and how do you manage that. And in this really, really awesome safety tip guideline that I'm going to share with you here in just a second that I found, it actually covers both topics really well. So I'm just going to combine them into one and I'll just share them twice. I will share this video today, the day that it's being recorded on May 31st for my summer safety. And then I will share it again in mid-June for the heat preparation. And at that point, you guys can like jump right into the video. And if you've already seen it, you already know that it'll be part of that, okay? All right, so let me get my screen sharing so that I can share this with you. Hope everybody is having a wonderful time shifting into summer and all of that and what that means, what that entails. I think it's possible that my kids are gonna just come busting in at any minute in the middle of these videos because, it's summertime, we're home now. Okay, so this graphic that I'm sharing with you guys, I'm going to go over is from the Rocky Mountain Hospital for Children out of Denver, which is super helpful. You guys can see all of my many, many, many tabs. I have a lot going at any given time. Okay, so summer safety tips. Learn how to keep your family safe and how to prevent harm to your kids during summertime activities. Right here at the very top, single most important thing you can do in order to make sure your kids, especially young kids, are safe is adult supervision. That is true if they're on the park. That is true if they're going for walks. That is true if they're taking your dogs out for a walk, or if they're going swimming, or if on the 4th of July they're shooting off fireworks. Having appropriate adult supervision, always first and foremost, one of the easiest things you can do to help maintain safety. Okay. Playgrounds, I think the local park right around the corner from you guys is a pretty nice playground at this point. And just keeping that environment in mind, right? If you go there and you notice something is broken, right, you can let me know and we can contact the city of Austin and have them try to fix it. Or, if you notice that there's, broken beer bottles or something on the side of the road, right? Or, like next to the playground, you can pick it up and throw it away. Once again, we can also contact the city of Austin and inform them of the situation so that maybe they can do something to help keep potential safety hazards to a minimum. Okay. And there is also that creek running along for, our local park. So it's really important that if your kids are going to the park, they know not to play in water without supervision. We ask that, these are safe behaviors. So we ask our kids to do, right? Play responsibly, be kind, take turns. We ask kids, hey, like before you jump off the swing, like just be aware of what's around you. Don't walk in front of a swing. I can't tell you the number of times my kids have just been completely taken off their feet because they've walked in front of somebody swinging. Climbing up the front of the slide is not acceptable. That bothers me. I don't like that one, mostly because every child on the face of the planet does it. But, if your kid is being unsafe with it, something to keep in mind. And look before you jump or slide. Basic window stuff. Make sure that do not allow children to play near windows, balconies, or decks. I mean, sure, right? If your windows are open, if your balcony door is open, you definitely want to make sure you have a gate or something in between like small children, toddlers, things like that. And that gate, it is astounding to me how quickly like young kids in particular can climb. And keeping furniture away, right? We all have chairs on our balconies. You've got a 2-year-old who somehow got outside because the door wasn't locked, climb up onto the chair. I'm not even going to finish the thought, right? Because I don't want anybody to get injured. Window screens are not a safety device. So screens are really interesting because it seems like one of those things that should just like act as an additional barrier, but it's not, right? Like my dogs literally push my screens out of my window constantly. It's wildly irritating, but they are not stable. They are not steady. They don't have a strong connection in that window frame. Most of us here in Texas, we keep our windows closed anyway, right? We don't typically have our windows open this time of year because it's hot. But have your windows, closed and locked if you have small children, especially. We here at Think East, we don't have any control over the local landscaping, unless the community garden gets approved. And don't underestimate kids' mobility and how quickly they can learn and how quickly they climb, right? Like don't sell your kids short. Bicycle safety, wear a helmet, super, super important. If they are going to be on a skateboard, if they're going to be on a bike, if they're going to be on a scooter, any of that stuff, wearing a helmet is important. Especially the Think East parking lot in particular is kind of tucked back. And so like if they're like riding their scooter or their bike down to the park, right, there's a lot of blind curves there. There's a lot of blind turns where it's hard to see people who might be in that driveway until you get into the driveway. So it's just important. It's important to have that in mind. Burns, overheating, seek shade, right? If you're out at 1 p.m, you might want to consider getting out of direct sunlight. Use clothing to protect exposed skin. This, I think, depends on a lot of things. I don't tend to like wearing like long sleeve shirts in the summer. I find them deeply uncomfortable. So I tend to try to avoid the sun in the middle of the day if possible. Wear a hat, use sunscreen. Here in Central Texas, the UV radiation that we're getting from the sun is pretty intense. Wear sunglasses if you can. Avoid indoor tanning. When you're doing outdoor cooking, make sure that you have kind of a safety area, right? You have an area where kids aren't coming in. Think East does not allow any cookouts because of fire hazards. So this is more just kind of general knowledge, but make sure that any lighters you have for the charcoal are kept up. That goes, I think, without saying all the time, not just for cookouts. Never add charcoal starter fluid to warm or hot coals. So when you're trying to start your grill, like using the starter fluid is great. Once you've gotten it going, you don't need it. Okay. And if you try to put it on there, potentially it could jump up and it can make could be a problem and be potentially unsafe. And don't use gas. Just don't use gas to start a fire, like ever. Campfire safety rules. There are some local campsites that some of us may be going to. Definitely use designated fire pits. Don't start a fire, especially here in Central Texas, but we're in a drought. Like we're supposed to be entering stage 1 drought precautions here in the next few weeks. So definitely use designated fire pits. Make sure the ground is cleared all around. If it's a designated fire pit, it should already be cleared. Build a fire downwind. Never leave a fire unattended. When you go to bed, like you want to make sure that fire is out, like not smoldering, but out. Never use flammable liquid. Don't use gas. Don't use starter fluid. Don't use anything like that because it could get out of hand very quickly. The ground is pretty dry here right now, and so what could happen is you go to start a campfire and it jumps. Keep water on the fire extinguisher. Keep water or a fire extinguisher nearby. Just always good practice. That is also a good tip with fireworks, having a bucket of water nearby just in case. Motor vehicle heat safety, period, point blank, full stop. Do not leave animals or kids alone in a car in the summer. Don't do it. If they are toddlers or younger and cannot get out of a car seat, that is kind of an even bigger problem. A child left alone in a car can overheat 5 times faster than an adult. And within 10 minutes, the interior temperature can rise 20 degrees even with the window cracked. So if it's 100 degrees outside, that car could be 120 degrees. All right. Doesn't matter if you're in the shade. Doesn't matter if the window's down. Just doesn't matter, right? If you guys are on a car, if you guys are like driving to Houston or something and you've got a dog in the car and you need to like park at Buc-ee's or whatever and run in to go to the bathroom, that's a different story, right? You're in, you're out, you're back in your car. But I mean, like that is not you're going to stop and go in and get food and hang out and do other stuff. That is you went in to go to the bathroom, right? Or your entire family had to go. And then whoever was done first, that's appropriate, like another adult or an older kid, they can go back out to the car. Sunshades on the front and back windows if you have them. Hot surfaces, seatbelt buckles, the seats, especially down here. This recommendation of putting something in your back seat, phone, shoes, whatever, purse, whatever it is you need to put back there to remember, especially if you have a new baby. It's just good strategies. And if you guys have any questions about that, I'm happy to talk more about that at a later time. Water safety. All right, guys, we have a pool here at Think East, and drowning is a very real reality. One of the things that I have heard reported every summer for the last 2 summers is that kids will go and hang out in the pool unsupervised. I don't mean like 17, 18-year-old kids. I mean like 9, 10-year-old kids. It is very important that if your kid is in the pool, there's an adult there, not nearby, not in their apartment with the window down so they can hear, with the window open so they can hear, right? But like in the pool in case of an emergency. We do not have lifeguards on duty. I would love to figure out a way to get like swim lessons to take place here at Think East. I have not figured that out yet. If you guys have any ideas in all years, there is a fence up that is gated with locks. So, I mean, it should help. And definitely teach your kids like basic pool safety. Don't run around the pool. Don't push somebody else in the pool. Don't jump in the deep end unless you're a good swimmer. Go swimming with a buddy if you're an adult or if you're an older kid, right? You're a teenager, you're not adolescent. You want to go hang out at the pool with your friends. Okay, great. But like, don't go by yourself, right? Because sometimes things happen. And if, of course, there are any safety issues at the pool that you guys notice, gates being left open, the lock's not working, the drains are backed up, that kind of stuff, report it to the front office. Or let me know and I can report it. That's fine too. All right. Always watch children when they are in or near water. Try not to be focused on what you've got going on your phone or what you're talking about with your friend. It happens. You don't have to like stare at your kid. I think that's kind of, I think, an unrealistic expectation, right? That our kids are in the pool and we're just like, oh my God, what are you doing? But engage with them, play with them, right? Hang out with them, put your feet in the pool, right? Like you're looking at them once a minute, which sounds crazy. That sounds like a lot, but as long as you're like checking in on them regularly, frequently, and you're there, right? So if you hear something, you can be responsive, you can respond. Right? Your younger kids go, mom, this thing's happening. You're there. You don't have to leave your apartment and come. And watch all of your kids, even if they know how to swim, mistakes happen. That is true, especially like at the beach, when you get into like the riptide and the currents and stuff like that, things can get very scary very quickly. And kids who can't swim or who can't swim well should be within your reach at all times. So if you have a 3-year-old, even if they're in like a little puddle jumper or something, you probably need to be in the pool. Or somebody needs to be in there with them specifically. And keep your phone near you for emergencies. And if a child is missing, check the water first. I think that one is more applicable to the beach. So if you guys go to the beach, definitely especially I have found that when I go to the beach with a bunch of adults and it's just my kids there, I find that inevitably, there is an adult that thinks that they are not responsible, but they were responsible for the kids. And things get a little bit spooky very quickly. And so like call out the people who are responsible for the kids, right? Say, hey, you are responsible for this kid and this kid if they're over there. You're responsible for these kids over there, right? Use zone defense, right? And be explicit about it. Don't just assume that if there's an adult near your kid that they're aware that that child is there. Because if they don't have kids in particular, they may not even think twice about it. They may think you've got it. Okay, so be intentional, be explicit about who is responsible for which children when you're at things like the beach or at the pool. If you're like at the pool with your friends, one of the adults has to go to the bathroom, make that explicitly known. Hey, I'm going to go inside for a few minutes. Are you okay out here with the kids? Be intentional. Learn how to swim if you can. Life jackets. Learn how to use rescue equipment and CPR. That is not something that I have specifically done thus far. Okay. All right, so back to the sunburns and overheating. So this is specifically the section here on like heat stroke and those kinds of concerns. Keep in mind that in Austin, we have kind of a dry heat, and so it may feel really hot, but you may not be sweating as much. And so it's easy to start to overheat. If you find yourself getting dizzy, if you find yourself sweating less, if you find it harder to think, right? If you find yourself getting really fatigued, if you develop a headache, headaches are like one of the first signs of dehydration. Get into the shade and get some water, okay? If you encounter somebody who has just completely stopped sweating and they are sounding really discombobulated, really off, right? Like they're just talking crazy, they're having a hard time, using their words, right? They're kind of falling over their own feet, that kind of thing. That could be, all of those could be signs of heat stroke. So important to get them inside, get them someplace cool. And once you've done that, once you've gotten them inside and you have them someplace cool, it is really important at that point to kind of assess them to make sure that they aren't here. To make sure that they aren't more sick than you may have thought, okay? If they don't start rebounding relatively quickly, here we go. I just wanted to pull up a specific graphic. I find it easier sometimes. I'm just giving this a second to pull up. Sorry for the delay, guys. Okay, so heat exhaustion, faint or feeling dizzy, excessive sweating. So you're sweating way more than you were. You might start feeling clammy. Your skin might feel cold to the touch. You might feel nauseous. Your pulse may change. I will say that I've never noticed this in myself, but that may be one of the last things that I notice. Muscle cramps. You want to get to a cooler air conditioned place. You want to drink water if you're awake. You can take a cool shower. You can, use cold compresses. Cold compresses, like, if you get a washcloth or something and you put like ice cold water on it and you just put it on your forehead and it'll help cool your body down. If you have a throbbing headache, massive headache, you're not sweating at all, and your body temperature is going up above 103 degrees. So first off, your body temperature is above 103 degrees and you're an adult, you might want to consider going to the hospital anyway. Red, hot, dry skin, you're throwing up, rapid, strong pulse, you may lose consciousness. Call 911. Like, if you're with somebody, that person needs to call 911. If you see somebody experiencing those symptoms, you need to call 911. And then get cold compresses, right? Try to cool their body down to the best of your ability until help arrives, okay? And I wanted to specifically point this out because it happens and it's just that time of year, okay? If you're having any issues with like your air conditioning or anything like that inside, definitely get those management or those maintenance requests into management as soon as possible so that hopefully they can be dealt with as soon as possible, okay? All right. I hope you guys all have a wonderful and fun-filled summer. And I look forward to hearing about it if you want to share with me. All right. Thank you so much. Look forward to talking with you next time.